I'm a fire squid.
Dope.
No, not dope. I'm a 6,000-foot tall fire squid. I have tentacles. There's teeth everywhere. I'm on fire and my neck is long. And there's a smell and lots of juice. There's so much juice, Ellen.
I think I speak for everyone here when I say I really have to see this.
So you're not gonna take off your demon Spanx because you're shy? Oh, that's convenient.
Eleanor, if I take off this suit, I will crash through the roof and the entire neighborhood will see me and the experiment will be blown. But it's more than that. You guys will never look at me the same way again. I won't just be Michael. I'll be some disgusting mass of burning tentacles. Do you really want to be friends with something like that?
Yes, I keep saying.
Well, listener, I'm not sure really how to start this whole thing off. We're gonna have to wait a couple of months because I am just covered in Steven's goo. You know, you think you've got him strapped up to a lie detector. You ask him, so do you love me? Do you like doing the podcast? And all of a sudden, I'm just dripping in Steven goo. I'm trying to collect it, but, you know, all I've got is this little fanny pack on my waist. I'm trying to scoop all of Steven into this fanny pack. And so I guess we just sit here and wait. We wait for a few months for Steven to come back.
A few months later. Oh my God, Zach. Boy, you know, I thought that you would like unzip the fanny pack when I started forming into a full adult male, but you didn't. So here I am. I now have arms, legs, and a fanny pack body. Hi, everybody. It's been a long time. How are you, Zach?
You are about 2 feet shorter now.
Well, you didn't do a good job scooping up my goo.
No, I wasn't that worried about it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us. Into the Time Knife is back. Another week discussing The Good Places, final season. Hello, everyone. I'm Zach, and I've seen a lot of weird hogs in my life.
Ain't that the truth? And I'm Steven, and I'm on fire, and my neck is long.
Boy, howdy are you. I hope you had a nice week, listener. I'm glad you've joined us. We've only got a few months left of this, covering The Good Place every week and hopping into the Time Knife to do this thing. It's a lot of fun. It's a real nice, safe space for me to step into every week, and I hope it feels like that for you to have a safe space to step in and listen to us make fools of ourselves.
Zach.
Uh-huh.
It's very cold here in Chicago.
Oh, God, is it? It's so fucking cold.
Yeah, here in Chicago.
Yes. And here in Anderson, Indiana, it is also cold.
Yeah, but you don't understand, Zach. You're not from the city, so you don't really get how us Chicago people do. It's cold here because of the wind, Zach. We have
the
wind
in
here Chicago. There's
is
no
also
wind. There is no wind anywhere other than, that's why we're the windy city. No one says, Indiana,
Wendy's
the windy
nuts.
State. Not Wendy's nuts. How you doing, buddy? You stay warm? How do you like to stay warm? Do you dress?
It's the wind what makes it the worst. So the last 2 days, I've been in the cold a lot. We went to a party in Indy. That was the night that it snowed, and we stayed there till like 1 a.m. And our windshield fluid was frozen, and it was dirty because of the snow, and I couldn't see fucking shit. So we had to pull over and try to like clean off the windshield, but like their windshield fluid was also frozen, and it was so fucking cold, and it was like 2:30 in the morning, and it was miserable. It was that night. It felt like I could only go outside for about a minute or less, and then I needed to get back in the car. Like, it was that cold. And then yesterday I was working all day, and it was also very, very cold, especially the later that it got. But my privilege problem is I've got a nice car that gets toasty and keeps me warm all day. So to find the right number of layers to wear,
that was my next question.
Miserable inside the car, but I'm protected out in the cold. I haven't quite found the right trade-off yet, but I think gloves are something that I need to invest in for sure.
Yeah, Zach, yes. Get gloves. You're
I don't have
an adult.
gloves.
You must have gloves. Your fingies.
I just figured my khaki shorts and t-shirt would be fine.
That was going to be my question, is there's kind of two kinds of white people.
No, absolutely
Shorts
not.
in winter white people and others, I guess.
I like to wear shorts, so I might push it into the fall a little, but because I am kind of generally warm before I'm cold, so maybe I would wear like a hoodie and shorts once or twice in the early fall. But no, by the end of
sure, but I don't
hoodie
and shorts outside.
Or if I'm just like running out to do something real quick, or like if I'm going to be in my car and it's going to be hot and sunshiny, but I don't know. I'm not a shorts in the winter white guy at all.
That's good. You have a good coat, Zach? You need a good coat.
That's the problem, is I do have a good coat, but it's too bulky for me to be sitting in my car all day. So I usually end up wearing like shirt, sweater, hoodie.
Oh, God, Zach. Is that what you had yesterday?
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
And the worst part of it was like at 8 o'clock, I decided I need to put some air in my tires. So I went outside in the negative whatever, shirt, sweater, hoodie, no gloves, and was holding the cold ass air pump and taking the things up. I couldn't feel my fingers and
Zach,
nose for a bit. Yeah.
So like right now in Chicago, I just checked. The wind chill is -17.
Jesus, that sounds comparable, maybe a little bit colder, but we've been getting similar.
That's like 10 minutes outside and you can get frostbite.
Right.
With exposed skin. I'm worried about you, buddy. You got to be safe. I'm going to take you down to the store. We're going to go to the Kids Gap.
Woolworths.
And get you
Kids Gap.
a really nice little jacket.
We've told before, though, I am no longer allowed inside the Kids Gap, so I'll hang out at the Foot Locker next door while you do whatever you need to do.
I'm surprised they let you back in. They got like a 10-year ban thing.
Yeah, for sniffing, you get 3 years. So I'm good. That was a while ago. How was your week? Did you do anything worth commenting on that you have been holding on to? I didn't get almost murdered by police officers this week, so I don't have any that crazy stories to tell. What about you?
Let's see. So we're getting ready for our big charity event at my job. I think we've been doing this podcast enough that I've mentioned that before.
What's the charity?
It goes towards a couple things. A lot of it goes towards breast
Salvation
cancer
Army.
Curative research. Right, only Salvation Army.
Say breast cancer?
Yeah.
Cool.
We give the money right to breast cancer. We call them up. Hey, yo, BC, we got you some dough.
Not hearing about you as much lately. What can we do to boost that
Yeah, I got to boost that awareness. I got to know it exists.
Cool.
But yeah, so it goes towards research and then towards an organization that provides mammograms to people who can't afford them. It's just Zach. I give him money and he goes around feeling people up and says, they paid me to do this. I got to check you.
I just take their boob and squish it real hard.
But I had my first lesson with my celebrity this week, which was fun.
Celebrity?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about titty squishing and then you said celebrity, so I missed part of that sentence.
Yeah,
you got assigned your celebrity?
Mm-hmm. So we get our
Is it someone that you already knew?
She's on the news, and I don't have cable. But Danny's celebrity is somebody that I watched play when he was in college because he went to the University of Michigan. So I'm super excited about that. Like I was like a fan of his.
Scraping the bottom of that celebrity barrel, huh?
18 years in, you kind of exhaust all the good ones.
Ain't that the
It's
truth?
like Dancing with the Stars in 10 years. Yeah, people keep getting famous, I guess, but it's going to be like, hey, the caveman from Geico commercial. He was just in another Geico commercial.
I've been so rare and ready to go. We didn't shout out our patrons. Let's shout out our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com. There's no problem. We were having
professional
fun.
Bullshit.
No, I for one have enjoyed the last 10 minutes of conversation, so I'm sure the audience has too. Why are you mad at me?
Just go on with the show.
We talked about this. Can we not do this now?
Dr. Joyce said that we need to use I statements, and I feel as though you should read the patrons' names. Please.
Over at patreon.com/can't disappoint podcast, the people supporting us at a $10 and up tier get shouted out here every week, and those people are Mary Baker Budisa, Danny M. Lugo, Justin Fortier, Lil S. Haker, and Autumn Marsh. Thank you to those people for joining us. Whether you support us on Patreon at $10 and up and get shouted out every week, or if you just sign up for 1 month for $5 and listen to all the content, we appreciate all the support we get over there. And there are things weekly, more than one thing weekly every week over the Patreon, whether that's early access, live streams, Patreon exclusive Rewatch podcasts, all that stuff over at patreon.com/can't disappoint podcast.
Getting quickly, if you're listening to this early, then make sure you go over to the Patreon. There might still be up Zach's little piggy toe pics. The toes of the piggies. Zach is not the piggy. His toes are piggies. Paint them pink.
The
put a
Patreon
snout on
mods
them.
keep trying to take them down, but I post them every 5 minutes, so good fucking luck.
Yeah.
So
Zach, did you do anything of?
Yeah, I can segue myself, thank you. You know this is a self-steering ship. Go ahead.
Zach, anything of note happened to you this week? I know you were sending me smoke signals from a certain event you were at.
Yes, I know this is going to come to the surprise of all of our listeners, but in high school, you could laugh a little bit less harsher. In high school and a little bit beyond, Zach, me, the guy with long hair and a Beavis and Butthead shirt.
And the Bart Simpson behind you.
And with a musical theater background, was the Green Day kid.
Whoa.
They were like my mainstream segue into heavier music, a very important band for me for a very long time. Even past the point where everyone else was like, yeah, but they've sucked for like 10 years. I was still holding on tight. And since then, I have stepped back quite a bit. I get the cringe. I don't argue anymore when people say bad shit about them. Like all of those songs, all of those albums are like a part of me now just because I've heard them so many times. So when Green Day started announcing this new album, putting out new songs, I've been giving like cautious ears to it. I'm kind of a lifer, even if I don't want anyone to know that much anymore. I'll check out what they put out. And then I saw they announced that they were doing all over the world last week. When this comes out, the new album will already be out. But they did this like global listening party event at indie record stores. And you show up and you get all this free stuff like a poster and like a lyric book to follow along.
Oh, cool.
And it was like kind of in the style of an old school zine. And it had kind of like ransom note lettering type stuff.
Oh, cool.
And we got those and they raffled out some stuff. And at this record store, a bunch of people that like Green Day got together and listened to the new album.
Is zine short for magazine?
Yeah, but that's a thing. Like in the 80s and 90s, in like the punk and alternative and independent rock, there'd be zines, which are like homemade. Like someone's making these at home and then distributing them at shows. And
Oh,
that
that's
kind of
cool.
Thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I wasn't familiar with the lingo, but now you've
Like,
educated me. Thanks, Zach.
I've been
I
to
appreciate
record
it.
stores in Chicago that still carry some.
Oh, that's cool.
They're just there for you to grab. And I just assumed everything was just there for me to grab. So I took a couple movies, some money.
Person. Pygmy.
Arson,
You got any pygmies
burn
on
the
you,
place
Zach,
down.
this week?
Always. I've told you, I'm always in danger of being caught with a pygmy down my shorts.
Pocket full of pygmies.
So I went to this early listening event. We listened to the new Green Day album a week before it came out. And I am pleased to let you all know that the Green Day album in 2024, 5 or 6 albums removed from the last pop culture Green Day landmark, the new album it's okay. It wasn't
Out
awful.
of 10, what would you throw it? Off first listen.
Well, here's the thing. Listening to it at this event, you could hear it well, but it wasn't the ideal listening. I need to listen to it with my own speakers and not have people chattering around me, even though it was a cool way to listen to it and the excitement was up because of where I was. My instant was like a 6 out of 10.
Okay, that's fine for them.
So
right
for
now.
most people, probably like a 5 out of 10. It was certainly better than the weird Black Keys type shit that they did a year ago. But anyway, the cool thing was the event and that there were a lot of like kids there. Most of the raffle stuff went to kids and it really like healed my inner child to be at a thing like that if I had been 15 like these kids. And what is Green Day if not to be there to like make the new group of 15-year-old autistic kids angry about something? That's what they're here for. And it was cool to see that even as I'm too old now and I'm like, this isn't really for me anymore as much, to see people that are still doing the same exact thing I was. And the biggest moment of that for me was there was this really young, probably some type of queer, probably some type of autistic kid that had like buzzed hair and like a cool Green Day hoodie there with their dad, who was like a gruff type, long beard and like a hat, and he had his arms folded the whole time, just like sussing out the whole situation and being like, who are these people being nice to my kid? What's their angle and what's this whole thing? And it took me back, because I'm sure if something like this had happened when I was in high school, my mother would have absolutely taken me to it and would have absolutely been just as like bewildered and not trusting of what was going on. But it was cool to see that happen for kids, and to, as an adult, heal my inner child by still showing up.
Yeah, good thing Dad didn't punch you. You were really, really hanging around that kid a lot. You kept trying to link
I kept trying to explain like why it was important to me as a person to keep watching them have their interactions.
No. I'm just filming so that I can rewatch this when I tell this story.
I'm growing as a person. I'm still wearing my wristband. They gave us wristbands that say the album on it.
Oh, that's cute. How long do you need to keep it?
Until
you collect all your ones from this year
off.
And not take them off?
Well, usually they don't say anything
hospital
on them.
bands?
I like this one because it actually like says what you were there for on it. Most of the time, it's just a color wristband.
You should save it and then get it tattooed on you.
The people at the record store were so nice. At the end, they were like, we still have sheets of wristbands. Would you like a wristband that's not been unstuck?
Did you take one?
Yeah, but I think I lost it.
Oh, well, it's not around your wrist.
Else from your week that you'd like to touch on before we get into the good place?
I listened to 21 Savage, had a new album that came out called American Dream. It was fine. Second half of it was pretty good.
New Green Day single called The American Dream Is Killing Me.
Hey, there we go. I'd probably give it like a 6.5 out of 10.
Good enough to not make you angry that you listened to it.
Yeah, there were a couple songs that I added to a couple of playlists.
But not good enough that you were like, okay, good job.
Yeah, where I think he does have albums where I've been like, oh wow, this is a good project. I started listening to Kid Cudi's new album. Mm-hmm. So far, so good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll update you next week if it's still relevant to me.
I meant to tell you this earlier, so I'll just touch on it quickly. I went to a comedy show, like, kind of last second. Yeah. And it was this comedian, Sabrina Wu, who was in the movie Joyride that I saw a few months ago. And they're a trans, non-binary comedian, and it was a really great set, a really personal set. I thought it was really funny. And the audience was awful.
Oh, no.
And, like... Did they not know that they were coming to see a trans comedian?
Probably not.
Because it was a very, like, reserved, quiet, and hesitant audience. And, like, the person that opened for Sabrina was a gay guy who, like, talked about being gay. And he had all these bits that I thought were really funny about Christianity and about specifically the Creation Museum and, like, the Ark encounter and how stupid they are. And there was, like, this table of, like, a family that clearly knew everything about the Creation Museum and the Ark encounter that were not happy about it.
They're not feeling it.
And then... light trigger warning for sensitive people. Sabrina, in their really personal set, did talk about in high school being the type of person that struggled with like cutting themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think we could probably easily think of 10 people that we knew in high school that struggled with that. And it isn't something that people really talk about that much. And I think maybe it should be extra stigmatized or destigmatized in a way that keeps people talking about it, so maybe less people are secretly doing it, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool that they mentioned that. And as soon as they said, because it was like part of a bigger joke about how they were in high school. They said, I was like a big cutter in high school. And someone in the audience went, ugh, eh. And Sabrina stopped and was like, I'm sorry, who just groaned? And the person stated... And Sabrina said, why did you groan at that? Why did you act that way about it? And I didn't hear what the old white lady said. I'm sure you knew it was an old white lady before I told you that it was. They said something, and then Sabrina was like, oh, well, then I'm sorry I pulled into that, I guess. And then it was awkward for like 30 seconds and they kind of stumbled through the It was just a weird night for a show that I thought was really funny and really personal and cool. So
That's
I
too
both
bad. I
hate that the audience was like that and like that there are, because it was also a trans person who used non-binary, used she, her pronouns, used he, him pronouns. It was a really cool, like, maybe this audience of uncomfortable people like needed to be in that room, whether they accepted it the way they should or not.
Is it in Indianapolis?
In Bloomington, which it's a college town and a pretty gay college and a pretty noteworthy comedy place. The Comedy
a pretty
Attic.
gay college.
Like, the Comedy Attic is this cool little comedy room that most of the comedians come to. Like, it should be more hip than what that night was, and it made me sad. But something that doesn't make me sad is this episode of The Good Place. Why don't we talk about it?
Gagada, boom, boom, boom,
Okay. I really liked that. We're talking about Season 4, Episode 4 of The Good Place. It's Chapter 43, Tinker, Tailor,
Twinkle,
Demon,
twinkle,
Spy.
little star.
This episode was directed by the returning Morgan Sackett, who previously directed Category 55 Emergency Doomsday Crisis in Season 1, Team Cockroach in Season 2 or 3? 2. 3?
2. 3.
She also directed the excellent
2.
episode Janet's last
2.
season.
Early season
and after
2
this
episode.
does direct one more episode of the series, Patty, which is the penultimate outing of the show. So we'll talk about Morgan Sackett again later in the season. This episode was written by Cord Jefferson, and this was a realization. Okay, so Cord Jefferson wrote the episode Derek and The Worst Possible Use of Free Will, and this is his last writing credit on The Good Place, so I went to see what he's been up to since The Good Place, and he's been up to a lot, including writing one of the films that's going to be like up for Best Original Screenplay and shit this year.
Really? What movie?
It's called American Fiction. Have you heard about this movie?
Yes.
Yeah,
I really
Cord
want to see that
Jefferson
movie.
is this cool, hip, young black writer that was on The Good Place before moving on to first be a writing consultant on the HBO Watchmen show.
Nice. I liked that show a lot.
And then by himself, he wrote this TV movie last year, or a TV miniseries called Station 11, which I don't know a lot about, but I think won some Emmys and shit. And
Nice.
then American Fiction is going to win Oscars. It's going to be a movie that I will watch because it's one of those movies.
That's
So,
awesome.
cool.
I'm glad it's getting
who is
received
it
well.
that's in the lead of...
The
People were
guy
talking
that was
about
in
him.
the Hunger Games.
Oh, Josh Hutcherson.
Yeah, it's him.
Did you see the
Woody
news
Harrelson.
headline that Josh Hutcherson said he hasn't seen any of the movies this year because he's been playing Fortnite?
That's so funny. I get it.
He's like, I haven't seen Oppenheimer. I haven't seen Barbie. I was playing Fortnite in my room by myself.
Hey, that kid was in Zathura. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
So that's Cord Jefferson. This episode, Tinker, Tailor, Demon Spy, originally aired on October 17th, 2019. So let's go all the way back to the last weeks of normal life, back in October 17th, 2019.
Jump.
Let's talk about the number one movie and the number one album. We're actually not going to talk about the number one movie because it was still Joker this week.
Wow.
The number two movie, however, we will talk about, and let's see if you can come up with what it is.
This is when I was going to see movies by myself on Mondays, so it's a good chance.
This movie is an animated film that's a reboot of a beloved franchise that's had live action films, TV shows, comic strips. It's about a family. And this movie has since had a sequel.
Wow.
And it's a little on the spooky side.
Okay. Okay, reboot, family, spooky. That means... No, not that.
You might have been
Scooby-Doo?
seeing the movies by yourself on Mondays this year, but this might have been a movie worth seeing on a different weekday.
There wasn't a fucking Addams Family movie.
Yes, there was. The number two movie. There's these CGI animated Addams Family movies. There's two of them. Oscar Isaac
Really?
is Gomez, and I think
Are you talking
Chloe...
about Hotel Transylvania? I don't think
No,
that's
but
the
they
Addams
are very
Family.
much like these came after the Hotel Transylvanias, and they feel like, why did they make this? It just feels like Hotel Transylvania.
After all the Twitter girls started cosplaying the hotel daughter from Hotel Transylvania.
Oscar Isaac is Gomez, and Chloe Grace Moretz is Wednesday. And there's been 2 of them, and one of them has a whole scene set to a Ween song.
That's cool. Which song?
Cause I'm dancing in the show tonight. The song that's at the beginning of the mollusk. It's like a bunch of kids doing like a recital to that song.
That's cool.
So this was the first of the 2 CGI Addams Family films. It was enough to get a second one. So what do we think people thought of it? Let's start with Rotten Tomatoes. I have not seen these. Can't give you anything. Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think the critics thought of the Addams Family?
Let's you know what? Let's throw that tomato. Let's hit it with a 78.
It is lower.
Then okay, the tomato slid down a little bit on the wall, slippery wall. Let's throw a crisp 65 at it.
It's still 20 lower than that at 45% from the critics. Not like a hard fall, but not much of a statement or an accepting embrace of this film from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not great.
Now, what about the audience on Rotten Tomatoes, though? We tend to think this is older people, so maybe it's like families with kids would be more on Rotten Tomatoes. Possibly. Do you think they like it more than the critics?
I think they probably do.
A lot more?
Let's go 57.
It's higher.
Oh, 68?
You are 1 off.
Is it a nice answer?
You are 1 off. You guess 1. I'm not gonna
67.
I'm not gonna make your. It was 69. You're always fucking wrong when you pick when you're 1 off every time.
Every time.
69 from the audience, nice. 45 from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. So let's move over to Letterboxd. I do feel like a lot of the, young adults on Letterboxd do still watch a lot of the animated movies. I mean, I certainly do. What do you think they gave the Addams Family? Do you think it's close to the 45, close to the 69, or somewhere in between, or higher?
I'm going to say in between, but closer to critics. Let's go 52.
It's a very round number.
Oh, 50.
50%.
Wow,
from
dead
Letterboxd.
split.
2.5, exactly. For me,
Good
a 2.5...
Mid is my 2.5.
A 2.5 is like, this movie isn't yet bad, but it's not really for me, so I'm not going to say everybody go see this movie, but if somebody liked it, I could get why. Let's talk about the number 1 album this week, October 17th, 2019. This is a rap album.
Okay.
I don't know this artist super well, but I certainly know their name. And I'm going to give you the names of singles from the album. The lead single from this album is just called Intro.
Okay.
Kind of tough, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not easy to get.
Do you remember any hit singles from 2019 called Intro?
Now, when you say the hit singles,
this was the first single from the album.
Yeah,
yes,
actually,
it's DaBaby.
It's DaBaby's album, and it's his.
It's named after a Simpsons character. Father from The Simpsons also has the same first name.
Yeah, it's his dad's
Milhouse's
name, I
dad.
think. It's not Gerald.
Nope, it's Kirk.
Yeah.
Kirk by DaBaby with other singles, Bop and Vibes.
I need some shit with some bop in it. Yeah, this album's pretty good.
You like DaBaby?
No.
Did he do some stuff?
Music.
Did he like say bad stuff on stage?
Yeah.
Is he the one who was like, my fans aren't gay in the middle of a concert?
About AIDS.
That's why I know his name. My fans don't have AIDS.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing.
Gay
such a
AIDS.
weird thing to say.
Specifically the gay AIDS. And then he
Kirk
had beef with JoJo Siwa, and there was a really
that?
joke. This is before that.
Okay.
I hope. Because I listen to this shit a lot. He had beef with JoJo Siwa, and everyone was just laughing because she's taller than him. He's very short.
I remember this too. I knew the name, but I didn't know his music, and now I know why. Okay, so let's talk about what people thought of this album. I'm assuming, first we're going to look at all music. I imagine this rating would be pre-controversy, right? Out of 5.
Maybe.
To the first
People
decimal
might have
point.
gone and bombed him after the fact.
What do you think?
Let's give it a 2.4.
You're 1 decimal off. Let's see if you can redeem yourself with the second guess.
2.3.
2.5 on All Music.
Damn it, every time.
2.5 out of 5. I went with All Music because Rolling Stone proved why they're the worst with their rating on this album. They gave it the same rating they give everything.
Out of 10, a 7?
No, out of 5, a 4.
Oh, yeah.
It's just always 4s out of 5s when they don't have anything to say, I feel like. What about Rate Your Music? This is the letterboxed of music. This is, people can add their rating to this at any time. Maybe it got review bombed, or also maybe it got like alt-right review appraised. All sorts of things could happen with an artist that's steeped in controversy like that.
That's true.
Where do you think Rate Your Music sets on Kirk? It's out of 5 to the second decimal point.
3.84.
That's a little kind of you. It's lower.
2.9 even.
It's a 2.53.
Okay, so about the same.
Just about at All Music, the 2.5. Yep.
Yeah. It's fine.
And that was what was going on October 17th, 2019. But I don't think either the Addams Family or Kirk by DaBaby were as big a pop culture landmark as Tinker Tailor, Demon Spy was on this same day. And let's kick off our conversation of this episode of The Good Place with the segment. You know it. You love it. You've been holding the piss in your bladder for it. It's time to find out. Did Steven watch the episode this week?
Because I am the baby, I flex and I show him, I grill and I take it a duh. He does that a lot in the video. He goes,
I feel like the types of things DaBaby said about AIDS makes me not going to be surprised in the future when we find out he's had it this whole time.
oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. You've got 20 seconds on the clock. How do you think you can... This isn't a bottle episode, but it's a very contained, like, stage play episode of The Good Place. How do you feel about getting it all in 20 seconds?
You know, Zach, I really don't know.
Yeah, you never do,
really
do you?
was enjoying this episode. Yeah, I was really enjoying this episode.
Sure. It's a really enjoyable episode. It's
but
really
I think
a good one.
because I was enjoying it, I might not be able to recant its goings on as much. I'm just looking. I'm like peeking at my trivia, saying what the hell happened this week. But I guess we'll. I'm just gonna go with my heart and see how much I get. I'm probably gonna miss some stuff, sure, but I think as long as I get the big beats, my good old buddy Zach will give me the big sweets. You know what that means.
You say you recant. I say you can, Steven. On go. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm gonna close my eyes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
They're playing charades, which results in Cheaty drawing a horse monster that comes to life and scares everybody. Then they want to work harder, but Michael's like, no, let's have a sleepover. And then Glenn shows up on a train and says that that's not Michael, it's Vicky in a Michael suit. They do a bunch of stuff to figure out that Michael lied a lot of times, so they might not believe him, but in the end it was actually Janet that was bad and replaced.
Here, you tried to cover ground, but the first part of that was just awful. You didn't need to mention...
Too much time about the charades?
You didn't need to mention that at all, I don't think. Like, that would have been like icing on the cake, because that's not really the plot.
The charades?
That's all before the theme song.
Did you hear anything that I said?
What do you mean?
I literally said they're playing charades, which ends in Cheaty drawing a horse monster that comes to life and scares everybody. That's the first fucking thing I said.
I was saying you didn't need to say that, Steven. Not that you
I
needed
thought you were saying
to
I didn't say it.
I said you spent way too much time on that and then rushed through like all the important stuff from the episode. And you did not get, I'm not going to give you the Janet thing at the end.
I said at least that it ended up being Janet.
My clock stopped at 23 seconds. I am thinking, no, you didn't.
That's not on me.
What I'm saying is if I took away those 3 seconds because I said stop as you were saying Janet's really bad, I don't think you even got like the first part of that.
There's a Zoom delay, pal. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, but I start the one when you're talking. So it's the same 20 seconds for me, friend. Regardless, I think that was bad. We can fight about this all you want, but you know I'm the one with the power in this relationship. I don't think that was good. And I think... regardless of if you got what you say you got or not, I think that it took you to like the last 5 seconds to then go into like hyperdrive to try to get some shit out. Doesn't bode well for a grade, which is going to be a D+.
Wow. Shocking. I thought I did better than that.
Yeah, well, you didn't. Sound off in the comments. Should we watch Abominable? How many is enough? And did Steven do better than a D+? And fuck the Abominable stuff. Just tell me that.
Does
tell
the
me
baby
that I'm
have HIV/AIDS?
Let's do some trivia. I've got a few more questions in the last couple weeks, but I don't know. You've been doing a lot lately.
Yeah, I've got probably between 10 to 12 for you.
I've got 9. Go first.
What did John write his college thesis on? Don't end your sentences in prepositions, people. This was 5:30 in the morning.
The
Probably.
butterfly back tattoo?
Whose?
Yeah. Mariah Carey.
Yeah, Mariah Carey's butterfly lower back tattoo.
I got that right.
It's not a
Who?
tramp stamp, it's a champ stamp.
Whom
Champion.
is on each Pictionary team?
You
3 and 3.
have John Yu, John, and Tahani.
Yes.
And then you have why can't I think of Simone Chidi, and his name is Brent?
Yes, great job.
Whew,
I love that they had the 2019 meme format Tahani and John and Jianyu shirts. I thought that was fun. I would wear that. We should get a Zach and Steven and Gooby shirt.
Yeah, I'm happy to include Goob.
Yeah. Your turn.
Why would Brent kill Daisy?
Because he's killed a lot of horses?
I will accept that, even though
It's
I
not the
shouldn't.
exact wording.
Because he shot a lot of
show
horses.
horses.
Racehorses is
Okay.
kind of the punchline. That's okay. It's okay. A lot of broken legs.
What does Brent guess that Chidi's drawing is of? Don't end your sentences with the prepositions, folks.
Shit. He guesses. I don't remember.
Broccoli with teeth.
Broccoli with teeth. Fair guess.
Sounds terrifying.
What
I've
did
seen VeggieTales.
Brent stop saying?
I remember the joke. I'm just going to guess daddy likey, but I don't think that's right.
I'm going to give it to you. It's daddy
Wow.
like.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
nice. Okay. What does Michael suggest they do to clear their brains?
Have a sleepover, and we can talk about boys.
No. He doesn't call it a sleepover.
Slumber party.
Slumber party. And before he says slumber party, he says that they could
Chillax.
watch a movie.
Watch a movie. I see. What does Glenn ask for to drink?
Pig urine. Hot.
Can you be more specific?
Warm. Warm pig urine. A glass of warm pig urine. A glass of hot pig urine.
On answer number 6, Zach, you did get a hot glass of pig urine.
Well,
I'll
if you
give it
gave
to
me
you.
the other ones, I think I gave you enough on the first try to...
I've been just giving you. I've been just
Yeah.
dishing them
Just
out
give.
to you today. Kindness, your turn.
You always take. It's finally time for you to give.
Oh boy, do I.
A lot of people give, Steven. How many times does Jason pull, or that's exactly what he wants us to think?
3?
Rule of threes, baby.
Hey,
you got it.
comedy comes in 3s. What did people used to yell at Jason? 3 things.
You didn't pay for that. You can't be in here. He's flatlining. Is that close?
You got 2 of 3. 2 of
Really?
3. Yeah, we were also looking for what do you plead?
Oh, what do you plead?
Not what are you
Almost.
doing here? Your turn.
What does Derek pop back in to grab for chime time?
His sex diaper.
Nope, the different one. This is after that.
The magnetized handcuffs.
No, after that too. It's after
feathers?
everybody leaves, it's just Michael in the room, and then he comes back in and says, chime time. I've got to grab this because it's chime time.
Fuck, what was that? Was it like an umbrella?
It looks like the steering wheel of a boat, except it's made out of like whisks, like kitchen
Oh
whisks.
my god, yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah. What is a lying trickster who just looks like your friend called?
A real Mary Kate.
I'm gonna give you
Olsen.
a shot because I think this is an important thing. Instead of real, try a different word.
The old Mary Kate Olsen.
We're looking for. I'm gonna keep giving them to you, Zach. We're looking for a classic Mary Kate Olsen.
Okay. What mixes best with pig urine? Jason says
Coconut
just immediately.
How many chimes are on Derek's sex diaper?
Just like 3.
There are 3, yeah.
Rule of
Big
threes.
rods.
Comedy
Rule
does
of threes.
come in
Comedy
threes.
comes in 3s. Mhm.
How tall is Michael really?
This is one of my questions, I think. Is he 6,000 feet or 60,000 feet?
6,000.
Nice. What does Janet compare the skin suit to? To what does Janet compare the skin suit?
To a really complicated bra.
Yeah.
Is that the word? Complicated?
You ever tangled with a bra you couldn't best, Zach?
I've never met one that I can. I just stopped wearing them.
Yeah,
I couldn't figure it
at the end
out.
of the day. You're like, had to go across the street for help.
I'm stuck. It's me again. It happened again. Just keep the pliers. Don't keep coming every time. What is on Glenn's demon certificate? His real name. This is right before he's gooed.
Joke. It's like you're something oozing out of your blank, or like stuffed your
can't even
something
give it close
stuffed
to you.
in your
No.
something.
You remember the line, but you don't remember any of the words. Snakes pour forth from his anus, and right as he says anus, he goos.
Nice. What are the stages of demon
That's my last
growth?
question. Let me see if I can remember. Larva.
Mm-hmm.
Swamp monster.
No.
Snake monster.
No.
Okay, we'll skip that one, and I'll see if I can get the rest.
Come back to it, yeah.
And now I'm stuck on the rest of them because I'm still pissed about what just happened. I know the rest of them. I know it ends with demon. I know social media CEO is before that. And I'm missing like 2. There are 2 more.
3 that you've not attempted yet.
The one that I messed up on and 2 others.
No, the one you messed up on and 3 others.
Okay. We're cool. We're fine. We're not stressing.
Fine.
We're blessed, not stressed.
You got 3 of them.
Stressed, not depressed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I'm going to look down and be like, oh shit, ball of tongues. I should have remembered that. Spooky little girl and teenage boy. I should have remembered that.
And
it was
slug monster.
Yeah. That tripped me up and I couldn't think.
It's okay. Threw off
all
your
the
groove.
voices in my head were yelling in perfect harmony. Zach, you fucking asshole. You don't know anything. And I couldn't figure it out.
All the things you said running through my head.
That was my last question. So
I've got one more for you.
Great.
What was Janet's next plan? Specifically,
bad Janet. To make Tahani give herself an asymmetrical haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least I redeemed myself a little.
You did. You got the last one. Good job,
The
buddy.
weight of getting all the questions right that 1 week or 2 weeks will never
When you have a brush
dissuade.
with fame, you're always chasing the paparazzi, right? You want that. You want the flashes. You want the scandal. You want the intrigue. You want the leaked sex tape again.
I've written so many TMZ articles about myself just to give them when I get famous.
You follow them around and you're like, hey.
Hey, TMZ, why aren't I paying my child support?
I hope I don't do something crazy.
Let's talk about the episode, because I think this is probably, as an episode, my favorite episode of the season so far. I remember this episode really well. I really like the small scale of the setting, but the big scale of the weight. And I also like the twist at the end. I remembered so much of this episode, but was still able to be re-surprised when Jason solves it at the end. And all of a sudden, everything changes in your mind. And then watching the episode a second time to take notes and really watching Janet, and also thinking back to the last episodes where we were like, Janet handles this scene really well. She's doing so well. When it was bad Janet the whole time.
Yeah.
I think you had forgotten that, right?
I had forgotten that.
Did you said last week, I think I remember what happens next. Was it very different from what you remembered?
I remembered all the Michael stuff. Didn't remember the Janet.
The Janet. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that
that's
was
a fun twist, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
So what did you think about this episode going back and watching it?
I like this episode a lot. I think that we had kind of talked about how the stakes, there was no urgency to the stakes because they had like a year, but a year in TV time could be 10 seasons, it could be 2 episodes, so...
In the case of How I Met Your Mother, 3 days could be 28 episodes.
Exactly. So, yeah, wedding. I think they do a great job of raising the urgency again. This feels like when we were in the first 2 seasons and there was something drastic was going to happen that could change everything. We're 2 seconds from this experiment being reset.
Mm-hmm. Or 2 seconds from Michael being totally out of the...
Yeah. So I think that it really does a good job at really switching up the pace of this season, is also setting up something that we don't really know how it's going to go, but it's exciting to see what's going to happen next. I think this is a really good episode, and I agree with you. Top 1 of the season for me so far.
I think sometimes it's fun when you get to watch characters freak out about something, try to figure something out, and the audience is already in on the secret. But sometimes it's fun when we know just as much as the characters trying to figure out what's going on, which is what happens here. And again, The Good Place does that really well. You think you know where it's going to go. You think, okay, well, Michael isn't. They've been bringing up the Michael suit for so long. It must be. And Glenn's changed his mind. You find out, well, yeah, Glenn did kind of change his mind, but he maybe didn't have the whole picture, or was he trying to sow chaos?
Well, that's what confused me because...
Okay, well then let's get to that when we get to it.
I have a question about that continuity-wise, because there's a line that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Anything else before we start diving in? Any grand sweeping thoughts? No. Okay. The episode starts with a really funny scene, and the way that this episode started, I almost thought, am I watching the wrong episode? Is this like an episode farther? I don't know why, but something about the beginning of this episode, maybe because of the way that the humans are all on a team together, made me feel like I had missed something. And then I even looked up, is this the right episode or not? But I really like this scene where the gang is gathering to play Magic Pictionary, and Tahani is clearly drawing a butterfly, but that's not the answer. John's the one who guesses, oh, Mariah Carey's lower back butterfly tattoo. And Michael says, well, look, because you guessed correctly, look at what's going to happen. And a CGI butterfly beautifully, elegantly, gracefully flies off the page and lands on Jason's shoulder. What did you think about this versus the CGI ants last week?
Much better job with the butterfly this week. Terrifying if that were real, because that thing's fucking huge.
It's massive. Yeah.
I'd be a little nervous around it.
John, no, not John. Was it John or Brent? I think you were wrong. I think John is the one that wrote his college thesis on the back tattoo.
That's what I said.
I thought you said Brent.
No. I had other Brent questions. Roll the tape. I read, what did John write his college thesis on? That's what's written in my notes.
Okay. Every prompt that they're going to solve will have to do with one of the humans' time on Earth as an icebreaker, as a way for them to all bond, get to know each other better. I'm thinking especially like Chidi and Simone, who are new soulmates, getting to learn about their time on Earth.
It's been at least 3 weeks since we last saw
Which is why the beginning of the episode feels that way. They did let a little time pass and just dropped us in. So the blue team's up, and it's Chidi's turn to go draw. Brent says, go get him, Chippy. But Chidi's worried instantly, like the pressure. Do you get worried? You feel like you're tailor-made for these types of party games. Whether you draw well or not, you're comfortable to get in front of everybody and do a thing and try to win and
I draw advantage really poorly, of your time. But I would have a lot of fun playing. Like I enjoy myself playing games like this.
But I definitely have friends and understand the clamming up and having nothing to say and nothing to draw when it's suddenly time to. I get it, and that's what Chidi does here.
You know, Zach, here's what I wish, especially being like in management now, I get more frustrated. Remember the kids in class that didn't want to answer questions because it wasn't cool to answer questions? I think that... and then being so nervous to answer a question are stem from a similar anxietal fear type thing sometimes, right? And anxiety is a scary thing, but I think everyone should not be afraid of looking foolish because we're all
absolutely
jokes, be silly. It's okay to be bad at something. That's all right, world. This is my message from my heart to yours, listeners. Argentina, so right. America, Czechoslovakia, some parts of England that didn't outlaw us after my little outburst about the Queen.
That's why I don't care how cringy it is that I went to a Green Day album release party in 2024. I'm free. I'm free of cringe. Being cringe is fun. It's more fun than not being cringe or being worried about being perceived as cringe. Everybody's cringe.
Everybody's cringe.
Everything that you like sucks. So be cool with it.
That was actually on a banner at the Green Day album listen party.
We know what this is.
And so do you. No flash photography.
But Chidi, of course, he's worried. He's going to buckle under the pressure, and his time begins, and he just stammers and hesitates through like the first half of his minute. Brent saying, just start drawing, my brother. And Simone going, no. Then Chidi does start drawing, but he only has 30 seconds left already. Simone guesses submarine, Brent guesses broccoli with teeth, and then Simone figures it out, kind of like, oh, it's a horse. Oh, my childhood pony Daisy. And because she guessed it right, the horse comes to life, but it's Chidi's, like whenever you see someone took like children's drawings of animals and made them look hyper realistic. That's exactly what this is. And this is one of my favorite CGI bits that The Good Place has ever done. I laughed so loud when it came to life and started charging toward them and is like flopping around and looks so bad. And like the feet look horrifying and focusing on certain parts of it. I thought it was really, really great. The monster horse comes to life. You made a freaking Frankenstein, man. Brent's in like 20 seconds of this episode, but he's still funny in his couple of seconds. Is. Eleanor rushes everyone off and Brent starts offering to kill it. Everyone's freaking out and the horse like charges forward and eats the beautiful, graceful butterfly that Tahani summoned. Cut to Eleanor, Michael, Jason, and Janet, the people that are in the know of the experiment, walking into Mindy's to address the disaster that just went down. Eleanor's not sure how it all went wrong, and Jason says, well, maybe it's because Brent got wasted. We should have cut him off. Maybe one of your first subtle Janet gives of the episode. She says, no one gets cut off in The Good Place. If he asks for a beer, I give him a beer. This is more real Janet saying, I'm just glad he stopped asking me to go to dinner so we could discuss my career. But honestly, it does make sense knowing that Janet is bad Janet, some of the ways that Janet has been enabling Brent.
Just like if you go back and watch the first season of the show knowing that it's the bad place, you catch things. I feel like if you started the fourth season over right now, the second that it's that, you know,
every Janet scene is different now.
Yeah.
Yes. Just like every Michael scene. And I wonder if there was some thought on them to be like, well, this is our final season. How can we pull that trick again in a smaller way? Yeah. And this was how they got to. And they do. Obviously, it's not the high of that one, but it works. And you are surprised. So you're right. It's been 3 weeks. And 3 weeks since they've had any successful activities. Yeah. But Michael says, let's relax a little. We got Brent to stop saying daddy likes, so that's something. But Eleanor can just feel that something's off, and it makes sense. And it also makes sense that you might question whether Michael's really him, how chill and relaxed he is when he's not always like that.
Well, and I think just the fact that he had the freak out at the very beginning would make,
and now he's just so
me
chill.
Question things. Yeah, and now he's super calm, Michael, which is weird.
So Eleanor suggests they brainstorm all night and they figure this out, but Michael, no, he wants to spend a night blowing off steam, having a slumber party, and before they can solve any problems, an alarm sounds off to let them know that there's an unknown train arriving.
Now, let's get into the science of this for a second.
Okay.
Zach, we're in a magical place.
No, I don't think the horse would be able to support the neck. I think it would fall. I think it would break and snap.
But the fact that there's a message that says like unknown train arriving tells me there's some sort of sensor, some sort of checkpoint in which you pass that in the train and it alerts Janet.
Yes.
Now, what this means, because that he arrived on is not a train, it was a
cart.
A cart. Which means that the Good Place train alert system does not operate on any sort of magic or whimsy. It's just a sensor that you drive over, and it's like,
and
this
I think
must
that's
be a
why
train.
we're seeing this, because Bad Janet wouldn't let us see this. I think this is a different neighborhood system thing. I mean, sure, it's probably powered through Janet in some way, but I don't think it's specifically Janet telling them that something's coming. I do think you're right that it's some type of sensor. But if you're asking that question,
also,
why are they not all over the place?
The
and why
line
did
that I
they see
didn't
him coming so
understand,
long?
and I will explain it later. But I just my mind just clicked it.
Little
I got
tease. Keep listening, folks. Don't turn that dial. Don't switch over to Office Ladies. Steven's got something to say later. They rush to the train station to see the push cart, and it's coming to a creeping halt. Shadowy, hooded figures stepping off. Michael's demanding that he shows himself, and after he kind of like struggles with his glasses and takes the hood off, we see it's Glenn. And this was an episode where I felt like watching and getting into the selection kind of made a difference a little bit.
Sure,
because we've seen so much more of a different connection to Glenn, and we've seen so much of Sean being mean specifically to him.
Yeah, makes it more believable.
They're all stressed because a demon's here, but Glenn lets them know that nobody knows he's here, and he wants to tell them something, but he needs to tell it to Eleanor by himself because it might be awkward socially if he says it in front of everyone. It'll be uncomfortable. But Eleanor says, like you always do, well, anything you can say in front of me, you can say in front of my girlfriend Stella. Okay. You had sex with my sister last night. Stella, oh my gosh. Shh.
What's wrong with you, man?
And he says,
That's not Michael. That's Vicky the demon in a Michael suit. And she's sabotaging your experiment. You see, it's uncomfortable.
They take Glenn back to Mindy's to be able to interrogate him while they settle this. And Glenn is really chill and just, oh, okay, well, if it's not any trouble, I'd like a little glass of hot pig urine or whatever urine. I'm not picky. And then Eleanor also takes Michael to the side to figure this out, where Michael instantly starts pleading that he's himself. Glenn is lying. It's really me. You can trust me. And Eleanor, who is playing 3D chess already, says to Michael, no, okay, buddy, I trust you, but I'm going to make Glenn think I don't trust you so we can see what's actually going on. But of course she doesn't trust Michael instantly. This could be true, just as much as Glenn lying could be true.
I think she still trusts him here.
I think that she is aware that it's a possibility.
Sure, but I think it's not until, she is given reason to not trust Michael that she starts
saying
him.
It to him. I
That's
think she
fair.
has no reason not to say I trust
game.
I think she's a little bit.
That
I do think she's a
Arizona
little
native Eleanor Shellstrop is ahead of the game.
I think she might think, well, regardless of if there's any
the
truth
48
to this,
states own Eleanor Shellstrop.
I think she thinks until I know exactly what's going on with Glenn, I should make Michael feel okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I just saw, speaking of Eleanor Shellstrop, the woman that played her mom was in an episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy. Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah. Just keep you up on the Grey's chat. Just a little good place connection.
When Michael sees that Eleanor is just pretending not to trust him, he says, I like the way you think, Shellstrop. I mean, I hate the way you think, Shellstrop. Did he see that? Is he looking? He's not buying it? He's not looking?
Ted Danson's so funny.
He is. He's very, very funny. No matter what, it never stops being funny. Kind of in the same way that Jason never stops being funny.
Yeah.
I think this is a great Jason one-liner episode. I think this is one of the better Jason just gives fun one-liners the whole episode type things. Glenn's going to tell them anything they want to know, and he even suggests that they call the judge, which of course brings the baggage of, well, if we could call the judge, everything started over, and maybe that's just what you want. Maybe we shouldn't call the judge.
Maybe Eleanor that's what he wants us to do.
Eleanor wants to figure this out themselves with some questions first. Jason says, yeah, like if you're a devil, how come you're not wearing Prada? And Eleanor throws him
really hard.
Even funnier, Eleanor throws a caramel at him to distract him, and he starts unwrapping the candy and eating it. Tahani asks Glenn, why did you go from the type of person who's flattening penises to being this person who's deflecting and helping us? He says, well, actually, one of my jobs was to reinflate the penises so then they could be flattened, but that's beside the point. He says something that's very believable, that he's been doing this forever. The system has always told him that humans are bad and irredeemable, but I'm starting to not believe that anymore. And also, he's so sick of how much Sean abuses him as a worker and how mean he is to him. Jason sits down. This is a funny line. That was your trivia question.
I feel you, dog. I was yelled at my whole life. People were always like, you didn't pay for that. How do you plead? He's flatlining. Clear.
Eleanor asks if that's Vicky, then what's the bad place's plan? And Glenn says clearly, what else? To sow chaos, to turn them against each other, to ruin the experiment. It doesn't have any deeper meaning than that. They just literally say, this'll fuck shit up. Let's send an old lady to punch them in the face. Glenn says, I can prove it, and pulls out these photos showing Michael in the bad place, saying that that's proof that Vicky was in the suit, but it's not exactly full proof. It's just Michael.
Just going like...
But Glenn knows they're real.
Really
because he helped make the suit. So we get a flashback. This is one of the first confirmed this isn't something Glenn's making up, because we go back to see the flashback. They couldn't quite figure out how to make the suit contain a demon's essence, so Vicky has to wear her Vicky suit and then the Michael suit over it. And Chandra says, ugh, you're the worst, Glenn. Vicky's getting ready to put on the suit. She's going to be so annoyed if she melts. And then the Michael suit, in a really cool effect, apparates over her.
Yeah, it's cool. Good special
effects.
Neat. Especially with their height difference, it could have looked kind of weird and broken, but it looked really good.
Every moment we've gotten Ted playing Vicky in the suit, and just the moment at the end of last season and then the moment here is so funny when starts moving around and Ted's
Yeah. Pretty well made. I can really feel all the musty skin folds and the dangly bits.
Sean says that the voice is perfect, and it's so perfect that he wants to punch him in the face. But Glenn isn't sure this is okay. We've seen a couple times that he's starting to have some doubts about all of this. Mm-hmm. And he says, what are you guys going to use this for? And Sean says, oh, what are you guys going to use this for? Shut up, Glenn.
The voice that he uses, the like, hey, what are you guys going to shut up, Glenn, is so funny. He's just such a great actor.
Because he's got the same demeanor and cadence all the time. So for him to break it and do this silly voice. But they're ready. They're going to get Michael spiraling using this. Meanwhile, Eleanor thinks she's catching Glenn in a lie because Michael would have told them about this. If there's a Michael suit and they're going to torture people with it, he would tell them. Michael says, yep, absolutely. And Glenn says, well, you could just look at Janet's phone records and see the phone call. I lied. They did call me. They did call me. That's true. Michael explains himself and apologizes. He says, I have an explanation. And Glenn says, yeah, he's Vicky. Call the judge. Jason's not smart, but he's smart when he says, or is this exactly what you want us to do? But I think he's just seen people say that in movies. Yeah. And that's why he's saying it.
Absolutely.
Glenn says, yes, it is. It is what I want you to do. Exactly. Tahani is thinking they should call the judge. It seems like Glenn is telling the truth. And Eleanor says, no, if we do that, it'll get the experiment reset. So that should be a last-ditch effort because this way we still have Chidi, we still have Michael, if we have Michael, and everything keeps going on. And we can try to figure this out without the judge like Michael used to do so many times. So she's going to keep Glenn and Michael to separate rooms so they have time to figure it out. And Michael says, oh, he's trying to be fake still. And he's in on the joke with Eleanor. I'm very upset about this development. Sarcastically. But then Eleanor says, no, you're not off the hook. You go over there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very upset about this development, he says again. So Eleanor asks Jason and Tahani what they should do. And they aren't really that much help. Jason says, I say we trust Michael. He's our friend. Tahani says, I say we trust Glenn. He might just be a trickster that looks like our friend. The classic Mary-Kate Olsen.
Which I didn't know Mary-Kate was the trickster of the two.
Well known, yes.
How do you think that Mary-Kate and Ashley feel that their younger sister Elizabeth has probably made more money than they did in their career?
I don't think that's true. Maybe
she's
in a
got
year,
Marvel money, buddy.
Yeah, but they've got 40 years of residuals money.
That's true. They're not getting
and
shit for Fuller House.
Fashion line money. And name brand money. And back in the day when there were all the Mary-Kate and Ashley movies, TV shows, books. I think maybe their sister made more money than they did that year. But I don't think more than their whole career. Are you kidding me?
Inflation.
Are you kidding me? Well, actually, if you account for inflation, they would have made more money back then than originally. That just makes it more in their favor.
Dollars. I'm not changing. I'm saying because of inflation, Elizabeth's getting way more buckaroonies
in 1 year. We can talk about the Olsens later, Steven. This is not for now. We've had this fight.
Career earnings for all the Olsen girls.
I know everything Olsen. Don't even try.
You're the all-seeing eye.
Eleanor, that was really funny. I was going to move past it, and I have to give you credit for it.
Thank you. I was going to be shattered if that didn't even at least get a snicker.
But when it doesn't, it's always a nice moment in the podcast when I go back and listen to it. But that one I did hear actively, even as I'm moving forward, and I had to give you a flower, a single rose petal for that joke. Your scrap, sir. Eleanor is able to admit, Michael's been acting kind of weird and he keeps deflecting my ideas, like when he suggested to do a slumber party instead of working. And Jason says, well, to be fair to Mike, slumber parties do rule. And Jason isn't sure why they should trust Glenn. He's a demon. But Eleanor gives Glenn credit and says, well, sometimes demons can turn good. We've seen it happen with Michael. Mm-hmm. Jason says, okay, so then it's decided. We trust both of them. And Eleanor says, okay, predictably, this is unhelpful. And they go back to talking to the two guys. So they confine Michael to one of the rooms and they start to poke around at the room that they're in and all of this weird stuff that's being used to decorate it. Mm-hmm. Eleanor picks up a pair of fuzzy handcuffs and asks if they're weapons. And then as she does that, Derek pops in. And it's been a minute since we've seen Derek.
Yeah. Not since he was murdered.
Was that this season or was that the end of last? That was the one of the first two episodes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't seen him in a second. He pops in to let Eleanor know that those are my special magnet handcuffs that make me feel silly when me and Mindy are playing upstairs, downstairs, Derek. Well, maybe after the podcast, we can play a little upstairs, downstairs, Derek.
We should play some upstairs, downstairs, Derek.
That's when Steven and I both pleasure ourselves from different floors of a building and see if we can hear through the cracks.
We always can.
And so can all of our neighbors and roommates. Jason tells Derek to get out of here, but Derek tries to bury the hatchet. He says, I've been rebooted so many times and I've been evolved. I'm past any feelings of jealousy. He's taking the high Derek. And then Eleanor picks up a wind chiming chastity belt is what I thought it looked like at first, but it's not. It's weirder somehow. And Derek says, oh, I know that sound. Looks like someone found my sex diaper. I'll leave you guys alone to live that diaper life. Not a sponsor, my inner baby.
Not a sponsor.
So then Derek pops away, and Eleanor and Jason do like a hot potato with the chime dipe. They like throw it back and forth, not wanting to hold it. And Eleanor asks Michael, okay, if you're yourself, if you're our friend, explain yourself. Tell us why. And he says, yes, okay, I'm Michael. And he starts to explain all of the lies that he's been doing, why he lied about Sean calling them, why he lied about the suit. And he was talked into by Sean to thinking that he can't tell anybody because it'll just be used against him. They'll just erase their mind. What do you think? Do you think Michael is right for not telling them, or do you think he should have told the truth?
I think you should have told the truth. Because sure, it'll get erased, but they'll know now. So at least like they know
this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that, especially the fact that it caused Michael's freak out, I think it's pretty major. Yeah. That would have been a nice, like, hey, sorry I freaked out. This is what happened. I'm just really anxious about this experiment. And Eleanor would be like, okay, that makes sense.
Eleanor says, well, only a month ago you pretended to freak out. Michael says, well, that was a lie too. Everything's a lie. It's like running into someone and saying, so great running into you. We should get together sometime. Or all of Instagram, which is very true. Except I feel like yours isn't a lie because it's just you guys dancing and that's literally what you do all the time.
Yeah. I don't post very often, but when I do, it's usually me and Danny doing something that we do.
Doing something.
Doing what lovers do.
So Eleanor recaps what's going on. The bad place made a Michael suit. Michael freaked out, didn't tell them, and then later lied to Eleanor about why he freaked out. And then Tahani calls out also another lie about Sean having called you. And Michael says, but that lie was just to cover up all the other lies, so that's okay, right? At some point, it's just one lie. I forget who says this, but someone just says, what? I think maybe Eleanor.
Probably.
Michael says that Sean must have sent Glenn to undermine the trust that they have in him and to get the experiment restarted. But now that they have all of these lies floating around, Eleanor is totally unsure if she can trust Michael at all, and she calls a group huddle for the people that she knows she can trust. Does this include Janet at this time? Or is it just Jason and Tahani?
I don't know, because when does she ask Janet if she can make a truth detector?
That's in a second, but I don't think it's in the huddle. I think after they leave the huddle, she calls to Janet.
Maybe Janet's not in it.
Derek pops into the room to grab his weird whisk sex toy for chime time, and then he pops away. Eleanor then, asks Janet to make a demon lie detector. But Janet is kind of, well, yeah, I don't know. The Janet babies are really draining me, and putting down the horse blob drained me emotionally. I really liked this line.
I just had to put down Daisy the horse blob, which was exhausting, emotionally and physically. She fought back. I won't get into details. I had to twist her head off. Sorry. No more details. She did thrash. She thrashed. Sorry.
And Eleanor suggests maybe we get Glenn drunk. We find out what mixes well with pig urine. We get some coconut rum and get him drunk. And Eleanor says that won't work to get a demon to tell the truth. But Janet will try the lie detector thing. Because now bad Janet is thinking, oh shit, they might figure something out. Yeah. This might go poorly for me. I'm going to make a demon exploder, not a lie detector. Michael calls out all of a sudden from the other room, oh damn it. Everyone's like, what's going on in there? I touched the dang diaper. Okay, well, go back in your room. And so he's in his room.
That's a suspicious ass thing. Is they were like, stay in here, don't leave. And 30 seconds later, Michael walks out the door.
Michael does do some suspicious stuff. Absolutely. But
which is smart writing to make the audience think, okay, well, wow, maybe there is a lot of weird shit going on.
And there has been weird stuff going on with Michael, even if it's not that he's a demon in a suit. He's been kind of acting rogue like he always does.
Yeah.
The gang goes back to confront Glenn. Eleanor still thinks or says that she thinks that he's forking with them, just like how Linda getting caught was them sending someone to mess with them. But Glenn reveals more information, and we learn here that the punching demon was always meant to be caught. Maybe that's why Chris was acting so horribly. It was just supposed to be a diversion so they could set up this train switch. It's not exactly what really happened here, but we see visualized as Glenn tells them they used this train switch to get real Michael out and switch him to the Vicky suit when they were getting rid of Chris and having him sent back to the bad place. And Glenn says he saw when Chris got back to the bad place, he was celebrating with Sean. Why would they be celebrating if it went poorly?
Exactly.
At the end of that flashback, you hear Sean go, "Man, I love a good sabotage." Jason again. Or is that exactly what you want us to think? But Eleanor's starting to believe this, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
She starts to say, well, yeah, I thought the puncher was weird, and I told Michael that, and he dismissed it. So they leave Glenn there to reassess. I really love this episode. They're just going back and forth and how we're along the ride just as much as them.
I think the characters are smart in the episode, too. Sometimes with stuff like this, they dumb characters' deductive reasoning down for the sake of stretching it out. But I think in this one, they're like, oh, no, that makes sense. Well, that doesn't. Well, that, they're really, all three of them trying their best to figure this out because
in their own ways.
There's urgency. There's an emergency.
They're not just all of a sudden
now.
Nancy Drews that know everything either. They do it in a way that makes sense for their character. And I think it's really smartly written because usually you find out what happens as the twist at the end and it kind of ruins going back and watching the episode sometimes. Like a Knives Out movie is like that with me sometimes. But on the other hand, in this episode, I think it makes it so much more fun to go back and watch it and to see all of the things that are so clear that we don't see when we're focusing on what they're focusing on.
Yeah.
So Eleanor's idea is that they just take the suit off of Michael and see if it's Vicky. Jason says, yeah, well, we'll sneak behind him and we'll try to pants him from the forehead. But Janet, bad Janet as we know, shoots this down and says that only a demon can take off their own skin suit. No one else can. It's like a very complicated bra. Eleanor says, so be it, and charges right into the room and tells Michael to take it off. I remember when this episode aired, I really loved the focus on there is an underneath the Michael suit.
Me too.
Michael is a suit. That's not his name. That's not what he looks like. And here we learn what he is. And it's silly because The Good Place is silly. We don't see it. And it's probably for the best that we don't see it. But I love that they address it.
I do too. And it kind of always made me want that scene where Michael is this terrifying giant, they couldn't really pull it off in a believable way. But I think it'd be really cool to I don't know. It's a cool thing to think about.
You're right. And I think the way that Ted acts his scene and the way he explains it and his fear of being seen that way, I think it helps you visualize it even without seeing it. So first he just shoots it down. He says, no, I can't show you. I won't take it off no matter what, which is really suspicious. Eleanor says, I've seen a lot of weird hogs in my life, dude. Not that weird. But it's not that. It's because he's a fire squid. Jason, of course, dope.
Same.
And the way that Michael says with conviction and it's hard to get the words out, he's a 600-foot tall fire squid.
6,000.
6,000, of course, with tentacles, with teeth everywhere. He's on fire. He's got a long neck. There's an awful smell and a lot of juice. There's so much juice, Eleanor. Jason really has to see this. He really wants to see it, and I do too. Yeah. And Eleanor's still okay, so you're not going to take it off because you're shy? This is bigger than that. Who cares? And Michael has a good explanation, which works both ways if he is really Michael and if he's not really Michael. Well, if I take it off, I'll crash through Mindy's ceiling. Everyone in the neighborhood will see me because it's in the backyard, and it'll totally ruin the experiment. And, which this is the more human Michael, the real Michael, not human, but human answer, for him to say that he wouldn't be able to live with them not seeing him the same way again. He won't just be Michael. He'll be some disgusting mass of burning tentacles. Do you really want to be friends with something like that? Yes. I keep saying yes. Before that gets pushed any farther, Janet, of course, pops in to summon Eleanor, keeping the distractions going. Bad Janet. She's created a device. It should work as a lie detector, and once they ask Glenn a question, it'll turn red or green to say if he's lying or not, supposedly. So they're going to calibrate it. Eleanor asks Glenn, what's your name? The device scans him. And he starts to say, well, everyone calls me Glenn, but the name on my demon certificate is, do you remember?
Snakes pour out from your anus?
Snakes pour forth from his anus.
Pour forth from his anus.
But before anything flashes, he explodes into blue goo. Earl Tobias Funke over here.
I blew myself.
Everyone starts reacting. Janet I noticed on the second watch, not very convincingly, it starts going, Glenn blew up, Glenn blew up. As everyone's reacting, hers is a little more like, yes, and,
Wow.
you know. And Jason strikes again with or is that exactly what he wants us to think? And Michael, there's a weird shot of Michael that I think they almost could have cut. Jason says, or that's what he wants us to think. And then it cuts to Michael doing this. And it almost feels like Michael's about to be like, you got me. But that's the end of an act. And then
See, I took it as
going.
Michael now is scared that he's going to get shot and killed.
That's a good point. That's probably true. As a privileged white person, that's never something I consider as being able to happen. Later on, Janet's vacuuming up the goo while Michael inspects. Janet is now doing a better job of covering it up, acting like she's really stressed out about having killed someone. She's never done it before. Oh, and Janet also says, well, and this doesn't mean that he is lying or telling the truth. We have no idea. He just exploded, so we didn't learn anything, and I just killed somebody. But Michael says, it's okay. Demons can't die. He'll slowly reform over a few months, going through the phases of demon growth, which are, of course, larva, swamp monster. I know, I'm saying the wrong thing, and slug monster.
I got confused. I was like...
Slug monster, little creepy girl, teenage boy. What's the third one that I missed?
You got this one when you said it before. Social media CEO. Oh, no.
There's one other.
Tongue, ball of tongues.
Ball of tongues. Sounds like a good
Great
time to
big
meet.
Ball of tongues.
Yes.
Doesn't seem fun to exist that way unless you're floating. Because imagine having to roll across licking everything.
I mean, honestly, a couple years later, this makes even more sense with the social media CEO to demon, because we've seen that happen with Elon Musk.
It's true.
So he'll be okay, basically. It worked perfectly, Michael starts saying. And this is also kind of weird of Michael that he's all of a sudden, well, that's solved. Everything's fine. The lying demon's gone. We're here. But of course, Eleanor isn't convinced that he's really Michael, regardless of if Glenn is here or not. The seeds of doubt have been sowed.
Have been planted.
And if Michael's lying to them and is him, that doesn't help them any either. So either he is Michael and she can't trust him, or he isn't Michael and she can't trust him. So she needs a moment. She's going to take a walk, and she tells everybody to stay put up in the house. Nobody leave while I go breathe for a little bit. I thought it was really smart to make space in this episode for Eleanor to spend a moment with Chidi. And we see just how they still make each other feel better.
I really liked this scene, and I think that the episode still would have been good without it, but I think what makes this episode borderline great is that it has this scene in it as well.
I agree. Eleanor walks out to find Chidi practicing horse drawing in the middle of the night, past everyone being awake. Ones that aren't a crime against nature, he's really going for that. The cute line, sad line is when Eleanor says, I know this mood of yours from reading your file. She knows what he needs and suggests that he take a break and they get food. So while they do that, Janet finishes pouring Glenn into a fish tank. Jason wants to put him back together because he's really good at puzzles, and he finished a word search really fast, and you see that he just circled all of the words he's supposed to be searching for. It's kind of a cheat code. It kind of works. I mean, he kind of gamed the system. He did find all the words.
Finding them.
Janet feels terrible. She doesn't think that Glenn deserved what happened, and Jason's there to talk her down in what seems like a really sweet moment between the two of them. Jason says, you did this to help. I know things are awkward between us, but you did the right thing, and if you ever need somebody to talk to, just know I'm here for you, girl. Which is the biggest moment in the whole episode.
Yeah.
And the episode does such a good job of making you think, why didn't Janet say not a girl? She always says that. But not making you think it's not her yet.
Catch that, yeah. And I wasn't even thinking about it, and I love that line. That's one of my favorite running gags of the show. And I missed it in this episode.
The reason we caught it is because Jason calls her a girl, and me and Lil look at each other and go, not a girl. And then she doesn't. Janet says, thanks, Jason. That means a lot. And they hug. Eleanor and Chidi are having nachos together and margaritas, and it's so cute. It's so sweet. Eleanor is pretending to be an afterlife being and explains that her favorite human experience she's had in the neighborhood are nachos. She says that they're crunchy, they're salty, they're cheesy, they've got a little bit of a kick. I think nachos are good, but I think the amount of blank chips that are always left, even in the best plate of nachos, makes it not something I really go to unless it's like a group setting.
Well, here's how you improve upon the nacho, Zach. You get chilaquiles,
That's like the breakfast dish, right?
Yeah, it's basically nachos, but with
But it's more
salsa.
like a tortilla. Like it's literally Is it tortilla chips?
It's chips.
I always thought it was more like a
Chips,
tortilla
salsa.
that's been cut up and baked into chips, but it's got that more like airy when you literally take a tortilla to do that, and it's not like the corn tortilla chips. I don't know. Anyway, chilaquiles.
Chips, dog.
Chilaquiles. Chichu. Chichu. That's from Community. The Portuguese gremlins. They say chichu chichu.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember what they're called, but yeah.
Knee-high mischief. Eleanor says, name one human thing better than nachos. And Chidi says, the Sistine Chapel. Well, yeah, that's just paint on a ceiling. You can't eat it at the movies. And they chuckle, and it shows that, how when like Chidi and Eleanor get together, how different they are. But how Eleanor can say things in a way that Chidi's like, you kind of have a point, and vice versa. I really love that.
It's really cute.
Eleanor tells Chidi, don't stay up all night stressing and drawing horses. That's not going to help anything. You don't have to do that. Chidi says, I know, but then says something really great, saying, I feel like I made the world a little bit worse, and I won't be okay until I make it better again. Whether that's he hurt someone's feelings or a weird horse came to life and then got killed. Chidi takes mental note of the positive, negative point value he's putting out there, even before he knew about a point value, and I think it's a cool moment.
And it just shows that Chidi's the right one of them to have been...
Oh, yeah.
rebooted. He's the only one of them that could have been, because he was gonna grow regardless, because he already had that goodness inside of him. He just needed to be pushed in the right direction to decide to be good. And it's really great. Chidi's such a sweet boy.
Aww.
Making yourself miserable to ease the suffering of others. About the most Chidi thing you can do.
She starts to shuffle off, kind of like eyeballs the nachos. She's like, do you want the rest of these? Yes, I do. Cut to Eleanor entering Mindy's house, and she's like sucking the last of the nachos off of her fingers, and she's got an empty plate.
So logistically, how far is Mindy's house from the neighborhood? Because the neighborhood is in the medium place. But...
I think she stalled so she could eat the nachos.
Mm-hmm. Well, because
took an extra long
It's close enough
walk.
that if Michael were his fire squid self, then the people would
Everyone could see.
But it's far enough away that the neighborhood people aren't ever going to go there.
Sure. Or maybe they think it's, the neighborhood people is 2 or 3 people.
3 people.
Everyone else is fake. And maybe they just think it's like the account, or is that what they call it? The architect's
house. I see. That makes sense.
That's my guess.
Mm-hmm.
So Eleanor's back, and she's decided that now she can't ever trust Michael. So let's call the judge. We're going to start over. This is a little selfish of Eleanor. She says, we'll have Chidi back on our side. That might help. The rest of it sucks, but we'll have Chidi back. Cool. And Tahani is really worried because they've learned so much about their subjects and that starting over would be so exhausting, and they've come so far. But Eleanor can't give Michael, regardless of who he is, this space to sabotage them if he's Vicky. And if he is Michael, she still can't trust him and will always wonder when stuff goes wrong if he has a piece in it. So, and do you think this is all contrived of Eleanor, right? To get Michael to step up because of this is the most Chidi thing you could do? I think that gives her the idea. That's where I took it. Because Michael does step up. He's going to sacrifice himself because he is really Michael. He says, I have a better idea. I'm going to blow myself up. Everyone says, what? And he explains, well, if you blow me up, you'll have a few months to continue the experiment. You don't have to kill all your progress because of me, and I'm taken away. You don't put me in a room. You don't put me in Janet's void because you'll still wonder, what could I do? I don't exist for a couple of months.
I blow myself up, I'm out of your hair for good. Well, parts of me will be in your actual hair, but you get it.
Tahani stands up to try and stop him, but he's decided. He can't say anything to prove that he's him, which of course is exactly what he's doing in this moment. Do you think this is a little too easy, or do you think it's a nice moment? I think it's a nice moment.
Yeah, I think it's a nice moment. I don't really have any issues with it.
It's not like the most affecting of all of these types of moments.
No.
But watching this for the first time, it does paint a picture that, like, it would be sad to not have Ted Danson around for a while, but a version of the show where they're running the experiment and Michael's just not there anymore.
Yeah, that'd be
is
crazy.
Interesting. It would have been interesting to see. So he picks up the thing. He starts pointing it to himself. He says, okay, oh boy, this is going to suck. He wishes them luck, says goodbye for a few months, lets them know to make sure to scrape all of them into a container because he'll be really bummed out if he's shorter when he comes back.
I get it.
And then he says a line. You
I'd
would
be pissed. Yeah.
You're already trying to say you're an inch or two taller than you are.
I wish I were.
Don't you? Don't you say you're an inch or two taller than what you probably actually are? Is that just what everybody does?
Doing that. I have now accepted that I am.
That you're 5'3",
almost 6'1".
Yeah,
not 6'1".
That's so big of you. Wow, such personal growth.
Ew. I wish I could take about a 1/4 inch of growth.
Michael says a line here that I remember enough about the end of the season to remember how much of a foreshadow moment this is when Michael says, I really wish I was saying this under different circumstances, but take it sleazy. Mm-hmm. If I recall, that's the last line of the series, is Michael saying take it sleazy.
Wow.
If I recall.
Remember, I think it might be. I might
or
not be able to
one
hear
of the
it
last,
through my
but
tears.
I think it might be the last.
Wow.
Jason tries to stop it. No. Michael is moments away from blowing himself up into a bunch of goo when Jason is the one who steps forward to stop him by putting the weird sex magnet handcuffs on Janet. It's a really, something's going to happen to interrupt Michael, but you don't expect it to be this in this moment.
No, not at all.
Immediately, it's given away because she transforms to a bad Janet. Jason figured it out. She says, oh, crud nuts. Jason says in a very Jason way, the explanation everyone needs.
Michael said there's nothing he could say that would make you realize he's really him, but Janet does have a thing she can say that does make me realize she is really not her.
And it's because Janet didn't say not a girl.
Yeah.
Janet always says not a girl. I always call her girl, and this time she didn't say it, so I knew it couldn't have been her. Michael takes a deep sigh of relief, and he says something about, wow, that realization is the only reason that I didn't become a bunch of goo.
It's true.
Eleanor asks Bad Janet some questions. If I have to say anything about this episode, which is really good, but maybe not quite as good as your best third or fourth episodes of the season, because they're always killer. Because the rest of this feels a little too Scooby-Doo. Now the bad guy just tells everybody how they did what they did. Why would I get that she's wearing the magnets so they could get some information out of her, but why is Bad Janet her. Why is she not hesitant to tell them anything?
Yeah.
But she just starts telling them their plan. Eleanor asks how she managed to do this because they were outside, or she was outside with her at the train station when this all went down. And Bad Janet says, we brought 2 bad Janets on the train, you dumb idiot. So we get the flashback, the real one this time, seeing Eleanor being distracted while good Janet is marbleized and swapped with the bad Janet while they're taking Chris back to the bad place. And we kind of learn here that this bad Janet has been pulling this off for weeks because that happened at the end of last season.
Yeah.
And until Glenn showed up, it was going well and she was fooling everyone. Janet says, that guy sucks, right? And then has an argue with the bubbling goo. It bubbles. She's like, shut up. Bubbles again. No, really, shut up, stop. How did she imitate a good Janet? Michael is talking about how bad Janets can never do that.
Yeah.
But for this plan, Sean rebooted her 40 million times. These handcuffs rule. So Jason has a moment of realization, as we are, that Janet didn't dump Jason. Her weird sister did.
Exactly.
So there's still a chance.
Still a chance.
I don't remember what happens with that. I don't remember if it just goes right to being happy or if it's sad first.
I think it might be sad first.
I think so, too.
I think it ends happy, though.
When Jason has that moment, Michael pats him on the back to be like, yeah, you're right. Okay, maybe there is a chance, Jason. This explains to Tahani why the horse monster came to life.
Exactly.
And why Janet tried to turn her against John in chillaxing, and why they got them to doubt Eleanor in the first episode. Do you remember how big of a piece of that Janet was the one stepping up to say, let's get rid of Eleanor? And then she says, yeah, in my next plan, I was going to make Tahani get an asymmetrical haircut. How could you? Michael's still worried because he feels still that they'll never be able to trust him again. There's no way to know that I'm being honest. Eleanor pulls back what she said to Chidi to him. You offered to sacrifice yourself to help a bunch of cockroaches. That's about the most Michael thing you could do. We're almost to the end of the episode. Because Jason all of a sudden is on this John Wick mission of where's my girl, or this Liam Neeson mission of where's my girl, where's Janet? And we learn that Janet's in the bad place. She's probably wiping her butt with her own butt. And Jason's just enraged. Tahani asks what they should do. And Jason taps into something we've never seen before.
Yeah.
I know what to do. It's like what that guy who blew up said. Sean's a bully. And sometimes the only thing a bully understands is a punch in the mouth. I'm gonna go down there, I'm gonna punch him in the mouth, and I'm gonna get Janet back!
Wow, sounds like somebody has a plan.
Dope. Where is he? What's the plan?
I love it.
We cut to the train station. This is the last blurb, and it makes me remember kind of what happens next, because I very clearly remember Michael and Jason on the pushcart together now that I see it. They're loading up a receptacle that contains one Glenn onto the cart, and Michael and Jason are preparing to head off to take him to the bad place. Michael asks Eleanor, are you prepared to take the helm? She's not sure. Do you guys think you can do your thing? Probably not, but as always, they're all going to try their best.
Exactly.
Michael and Jason have this buddy moment together. I love seeing them team up. I'm excited to watch the next episode, actually, quite a bit. Michael says, let's go get our girl. And Jason says, not a girl, because he knows Janet like nobody else does. And that's where the episode ends. A really good one. The best of the season so far.
Totally. I wholeheartedly agree. Best of the season so far.
Is it on that list of best Good Place episodes for you?
If the list is a top 20, I'd say definitely.
I think if it's a top 10 or top 15, it might have a chance. And we'll do that at the end of the series.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything really holding back other than The Good Place is showing that they can still pull these tricks.
Exactly.
Very successfully. But it doesn't necessarily make it slightly less impactful than it was the first time. Even though it works. It's a really good episode. I think this is the first now that's what I want out of a Good Place episode, keeping me guessing, making me not sure what's going on, and then surprising me genuinely when I find out what is going on, even after I've seen the episode a few times. Exactly. I think that's the sign of a really good Place episode.
I agree.
Okay, any last thoughts before we move into the Good Place and the Bad Place?
Manny Jacinto is gorgeous.
Gosh, is he cute.
Yeah.
Everyone in this cast is gorgeous.
God damn.
This whole main cast is very attractive. Ted Danson has some kind of old man swag where like kind of maybe in like a Jeff Goldblum kind of way, but even older, same where vibe. He's like quirky sexy and like I don't know, I'd like to feel around those skin flaps and dangles. Okay, Good Place, Bad Place. Let's start, as always, with the Bad Place.
Let's do it.
Who's it going to be this time?
I had to think more on my Bad Place than my Good Place. Honorable mention to Brent for calling Chidi brother. But I gave it to Michael this week because I think that lying to his friends at this point and how long they've been together is not really great behavior.
Yeah. I don't think he's that bad. I'm trying to think if I can think of anything worse. Nobody's really that bad because everyone's just trying to figure this out. I'm not going to give it to bad Janet because she's bad Janet. I'm not going to give it to Glenn because he's a demon and he's trying to do the right thing.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't want to give it to Michael. I think I'm going to give it to Eleanor for having a real moment of being willing to call the judge to end the experiment and to get Chidi back. I do think even though it's a quick moment, there's some deep selfishness in her going, well, okay, then I guess this is what we have to do.
I think that's a reach.
I think yours is too, and I think it is kind of a reach for a Bad Place one. So
Michael
to
lied
dissent,
3 times.
That's what I'm going to do.
That's bad behavior.
Yes, but I do understand why he was scared. He should have, if he had been honest, this wouldn't have happened. But I don't think the lie itself is an awful act because he was trying to help his friends, or at least like, I don't know, we've all had situations where we're like, I can handle this before I bring other people into it, and then it gets over your head. I don't think it necessarily deserves points, and I'm not really sure. Stop yelling at me, okay? It's Eleanor. But The Good Place. Is The Good Place a little bit easier to decide?
For me it was. So I have an honorable mention for Chidi because Chidi's cute and I love him.
I've got mine.
Honorable mention for Eleanor for being able to set aside her friendship for a moment and think logically because this is bigger than her friendship with Michael. This has ramifications for the entirety of the human race. But I had to give it to Jason. His ultimate care and understanding and willingness to still be sweet and offer care to Janet. Because it was when he said girl, it was when he was saying, hey, if you ever need to talk, I'm here for you. To his ex, who has kind of been icing him out since
and even saying like, I know things are weird, but if you ever feel like it,
And now he's going to go to the Bad Place and punch Sean in the fucking mouth to get her back. Hell yeah. Jason, Good Place for me.
Well, to go off what you're saying, because Jason's mine as well, you saying his kindness and his understanding of Janet helps him in this episode. It's also the reason why he doesn't get lost in all the confusion and not trusting everyone and pointing the gun at everybody else, because he knows Janet so well. He loves Janet so much that he instantly just knows that this is what's going on.
And he knows Michael. He's the one who is like, Michael's our friend. We know it's him. Sometimes
it's a really good episode for Jason. I think there are episodes that feature him a little better, but I think of the episodes where he's kind of the reactionary figure, the guy who's dropping lines, I think he's really, really funny in this one all throughout.
And I love it when Jason figures it out.
Yeah, me too.
Like when
Which
he figures
happens
something
more
out,
often
I
than
love
you'd
it.
think, especially lately. Man, I love this show. This was a great episode. The first couple episodes have been getting me really excited about the last season, and now it feels like the final season has fully arrived.
Totally.
And I'm so excited to go on the rest of the ride.
Me too, buddy.
Well, before we close the book today, it's important that you know, audience, that next week, before we recap another episode of The Good Place, next week it's time for you all to figure out number 2 of the 4 options that you'll be voting between to decide what our podcast in 2024 after we finish The Good Place should be. So far, there's been I Think You Should Leave, which would be such a fun podcast to do, even though it feels like it's been a minute since we've talked about it. But the other 3 options, I think, would equally make different podcasts, all very different than the ones we've done before, and in a great way. I can't wait to show you guys option number 2 next week. Are you excited, Stephen?
I'm super excited. I don't know if I remember what all 4 were.
I'll tell you right now, and I'll bleep it out to like stir up a little excitement. You got your You've got your
Yes, remember that
and
one.
this is the one that I've been willing to change, but I still think I'm going with
I think that's going to be great.
I think so too. And I don't know which one we're talking about next week, but whichever of those 3 it is, it's going to be really fun.
It's going to be super fun.
Well, join us next week to talk about that. And of course, the week after that, we'll be back to talk about episode 5 of the final season of The Good Place. And in between all that, if you want to know early what option number 2 is, head over to patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast, where starting at $5 a month, you can get that episode early, and you can get the next episode of The Good Place early before everyone else, along with The Basement, or That 70s Show Rewatch podcast, and every episode of You Can't Disappre Show, along with access to the live stream every week when we do an episode of You Can't Disappre Show. It's a lot of fun. You can support us starting at $5 a month, and the new year is a great time to hop on board supporting your favorite Zach and Steven content creators, because it means a lot to us, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. You know, we couldn't do what we do without viewers like you. We're like PBS. Yes.
We're just like PBS in every way. I think what we do is a little more important.
A little bit.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching The Good Place with us. We'll be back next week. Steven, why don't you...
I still have to tell them where else they can find us.
You don't know how I was going to finish that sentence. Steven, why don't you tell us where else the people can find us?
Well, if you want to, let me think of something clever.
Yeah.
If you want to slip on your snow boots and get knee deep in a little bit more Zach and Steven, because winter, it's cold outside.
And we will explode into goo for you to get your boots stuck in.
If you want to get a little bit of our goo in your hair, come on over to our Twitter and Instagram and follow us over at Time Knife Pod.
There will be
We're
no
also
goo.
on YouTube.
Fear not, no goo.
There will be goo. I'll be gooing. Come follow us over on YouTube. Subscribe. Hit the bell. If you're watching on YouTube right now, comment down below and comment Bart and Gooby 2014 forever.
I thought you were going to go with like a 2024, like their running mates. Gooby for president, Bart
vote.
Simpson VP. The first yellow VP.
There we go. There we go. But yeah, come check us out there. We're on those places. Search the name of the show.
I appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. It's a lot of fun to do this show and to talk about The Good Place, and I can't wait to come back next week and do it again. Steven, why don't you get us out of here?
From inside the Time Knife, Black Lives Matter.
I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And we'll see you next week. We love you so much. Why don't you go enjoy a nice hot glass of pig piss? You've earned it, friends. Perfect.
If they just gave me a chance, I'd show them what they want and teach them what they got. I'd tickle each and every one of their fancies. And I'd take the key to my heart and open it and let the love shine through. Mary Kate and Ashley, I hope you understand that I love you a lot and I wanna be your man. And I think that it'd be totally cool if I hung around your apartments and enrolled in your school. Mary Kate!
I guess speaking of albums, I haven't finished listening
Oh my God, Steven, are you okay? Oh my God. Is he okay? Oh, he's down. He's going back to the goo.
I accidentally muted my headphone microphone that's not attached.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, I'm calling from Tally
Say
Hall.
that again slowly.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, I'm calling from Tally Hall.
So Michael explains and apologizes. His explanation...
You alright, Mitch?
What?
I said you alright, Mitch? Senator Mitch McConnell?
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a few minutes, guys. Let's get him out of here.